Good evening. The department that's supposed to be supervising the state's most violent juvenile offenders is failing to do all it can to protect Tennesseans.
Those findings from a recent state audit of the Department of Children's Services confirms many of the findings of our ongoing Broken investigation. That issue became even more critical with the recent arrest of 21-year-old Devontae Hill for the murder of nurse Caitlin Kaufman. Our investigation discovered Hill had a violent history, including an armed robbery committed while on DCS probation. News Channel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams has the audit.
I wish you'd come back a year from now. And I don't think that the department will be the same department.
That was Department of Children's Services Commissioner Jennifer Nichols a year ago. Now this recent performance audit shows a department making progress, but still with a long way to go. Among the findings, juvenile justice staff did not consistently document how they were supervising caseworkers who deal with offenders on probation and aftercare. Caseworkers did not perform the required number of in-person contacts with those offenders, and DCS staff did not document actions taken in response to alerts received from offenders on electronic monitoring.
Our local level offenders are getting these checks by the probation officers, by us at the police department.
And they're not as dangerous.
And they're generally not as considered at the threat level that the children in the Department of Children's Services supervision are.
And
they are not receiving these types of checks.
Out on the streets with Nashville's Juvenile Crime Task Force, we saw local probation officers checking up on their juveniles, but we were told that DCS does not perform the same checks with more dangerous offenders committed to state custody. The audit found that in 89% of all probation cases reviewed, the offenders did not receive the required in-person checks. Neither did 72% of the aftercare cases. Those are children about to be released from DCS custody.
I needed someone to understand that we needed to urgently deal with this.
Our investigation also discovered that DCS repeatedly lost violent offenders like Jeroy Green III, who were supposed to be on electronic monitors. In another case, a juvenile with a working ankle monitor went on a violent rampage, but DCS never notified police that he was somewhere he shouldn't be.
The policy for DCS now is that if a monitor goes dead, or if a youth is out after curfew, a couple of phone calls are made. You call the caregiver, you call the parent. If they're supposed to be in school and they're not in school, you call the school. If you can't put your hands on the child immediately, then you call law enforcement.
DCS, in its audit response, says it has now set up a special electronic monitoring unit. It consists of a supervisor and 8 staff to monitor offenders 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I would absolutely say that your knocking on someone's door or your questions have opened the minds at that agency to implementing new things and things that is going to make a difference in our communities.
Phil Williams, News Channel 5 Investigates.